Our next speaker is another extraordinary global luminary, change maker, spiritual light on the planet. Jonathan Granoff is president of Global Security Institute, a permanent observer to the United Nations of the International Anti-Corruption Academy. He is representative to the UN of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Prize laureates, a fellow of World Academy of Art and Science, and since his youth has been a student of Sufi saint Bawa Muhyiddin. He is honored with his namesake. Having been given the name of Ahmed Muhyiddin. Ahmed Muhyiddin, welcome, Jonathan Granoff. It's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for being here.
Thank you, Ben. Many of the discussions that I've heard today are dealing with the space between us. I call that the political realm. And that's very important. But I thought that the theme of this was about evolution. So I had planned on talking about that and the human purpose and what is our sacred purpose. Our sacred purpose is not found in de jure institutions. The institutions of law that we create, states, just back up, the modern state was created for the purpose of separating people, separating Protestants and Catholics in the 17th century who were slaughtering each other in Central Europe. A bunch of wonks got together in Westphalia, 1648, and created the modern state to stop them from killing each other and separate them. So the states that we have, the system of states, was formed to separate people. And the problems we have today, our moment in the evolution of the relationship between humanity and the planet requires us to come together. So last week I was speaking at the United Nations Thursday, of the Interparliamentary Union, and the President of the General Assembly were having hearings. And I gave a talk on the importance of human security, changing the paradigm from pursuing secure states with insecure people to putting people first, taking care of people's needs. Because today's world, because of the impact of science, technology, and social organization, the problems that people face at a local level are actually global. I was one of the founders of the Human Security for All program with the United Nations, so I'm somewhat of a passionate advocate for this change of paradigm in governance. And I can tell you, I was part of the debates in the General Assembly's debates on the statement that all the heads of state would make at the summit that took place last fall. And when the idea of human security was put into play, the Russian delegation said, "We will break consensus over this term." So I went and I talked to them and I said, what is the counterfactual? Are you for human insecurity? Right? They didn't know. I said, well, that's not good enough. In other words, they had orders. They were not really able to give me an explanation. They came back the next day and they said, we're concerned that this doctrine will be used to violate our sovereignty under the doctrine of responsibility to protect. Now, that was exactly the doctrine that they used to invade Ukraine. So that was the end of the conversation because it was that incoherent. And I thought deeply about this point, especially in light of what John Cobb said about the importance of loving everybody. I mean, that's where I'm going to get to, of course, because that's really that's our personal and collective evolution. But I thought deeply about the incoherence there and the impossibility of having a rational dialogue under such circumstances. And I thought that I understood why the Russians invaded Ukraine. They felt generally threatened. They were threatened at the very beginning of the creation of the Russian culture was in response to the hordes coming from the east. They're traumatized from the Swedish invasion, the Vikings invasion. It's a population traumatized from the French invasion of Napoleon, traumatized by the invasion of the Nazis, and logically concluding that surrounded by military bases of the United States, we're a threat to them. But you know what? we're real different. There's no moral equivalency. Because in a country where there's basic freedoms, in a country in which we can share our ideas, we can criticize our government, and all governments make mistakes, and we can make corrections. And in the authoritarian regimes that are pursuing empire today, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Iran, you can't make corrections. There's no moral equivalency. Free societies mean something. And right now, the freedom that we take for granted is at risk because there are people in the United States right now who want to create an authoritarian regime. They're effectively using social media in the networks that we're talking about, especially the ones you're talking about, Adam, to create a moral equivalency and persuade people that the realm of politics is irrelevant to them and they can change things from changing markets, changing culture. Right now, the house is on fire. We have to make sure that the principles of the rule of law that protect our freedoms, the principles of public engagement that allow us to discuss and have disagreements and love our enemies, which we must do, are protected. So find some way of making sure that we don't lose our democracy. Now, I want to talk about the evolution. We're first and foremost human beings, and human beings are the only creature that can live out of harmony with the flow of life. We have this choice. All other creatures live in harmony. And we are admonished to fulfill a purpose in our birth. We're not just born to eat, sleep, defecate, procreate, and die. Our purpose is to discover the mystery that created us. The maxim is, God was a hidden treasure loving to be known, and thus made a creature that can know this mystery. And how do we come to know it? We come to know it by the wisdom to understand the nature of knowing itself, because it is this knowing that makes us human. And the foundation of that knowing is directly connected with wisdom, and wisdom is that consciousness that arises from the attributes of the divine in the human heart: love, compassion, patience, tolerance, justice, humility. And what are the characteristics of those qualities? They free us from the illusion of separation. And the qualities that take us into separation, anger, falsehood, jealousy, pride, prejudice, all of those qualities lead to the hidden nature. The hidden nature. The self is hidden and the mystery is hidden. But when the heart is open and the light of the soul illuminates consciousness, we can then do two things. Wisdom can find the divine attributes within ourselves. That's what we're all about in this group, and bring them into action. Divine wisdom is different. Divine wisdom finds the qualities and then seeks their source, and that's unity. And that unity, going back to the source of love, going back to the source of compassion, brings us to the essence of life, the luminosity of our very souls. And those who have perceived the luminosity of the self and the soul, they realize that that is the golden thread embodied in all living beings in different ways of expression, whether it's a leaf, a worm, a tiger, a lion, a dog, another human being. And the human being is the only creature that can knowingly achieve this realization. So we are at a point now, it's called the Anthropocene, in which, because we have forgotten this purpose, this why of being human, of being a full human being, we are trying to dominate nature as a goal for the purpose of military conquest and market expansion. We're distracting ourselves with weapons of mass distraction, and we're forgetting the very straight path of developing the qualities of loving kindness and compassion, which lead to the wisdom that allows for fulfillment. And the person who's fulfilled will respond in the moment, will respond into the moment to that evolutionary expression of beauty that is the essence of being human, and that is the essence of what brought all things in space and time into existence. So our purpose, the divine purpose today, is the same as it's always been for human beings. Know yourself, know your creator, and love people and use things, and never love things and use people. May the grace that gives us life make us those who have hearts without borders, commensurate with a planet without borders. May our hearts be those hearts that make space for grace, the gift that gives us life itself, the gift of breath, the gift that we are given to be together. This life is a gift. We're not here for a long time. And we can't save the world. We can serve the world. And that is good enough. May God's grace guide us with love and kindness. And may we guide each other in ways that help each other realize that gift. Amen. Thank you.
Amen, brother. Amen, Jonathan Granoff. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Thank you for bringing that beautiful message and the divine wisdom and the clarity of thought that you always bring, Jonathan, like a candle shining brightly. We just appreciate and love you so much. And thank you for all of your teachings and clarifications and wisdom and grace. We're deeply honored to have you with us, brother, as we always are. Thank you.